1. I am an account for a software as a service SaaS company that tends to have some interesting ideas on how a business should be run. Yes, I am from Minnesota. Why do you ask? We did about 30 million in revenue when this issue came up, with myself as the only biller issuing over 1,000 invoices every month, the bulk of which needed to be sent by business day 5. I had asked repeatedly for an assistant specifically for the billing process, and in turn got someone for collections, which I'd sort of been doing by myself and managed a 45 DSO. For revenue posting, which wasn't my purview anyway, and for payroll, which I was doing because we literally had no one else. But no assistant budget could be found. Per CFO. My supervisor, the controller, consistently tried to get me one, but was always denied every time she and I asked. One lovely day, we get a new product. Adobe Sign. Our clients can now send documents to their clients in talent for a low price of exorbitant rate for tiered bundles. I was supposed to get a report of how many packages were signed, then compare to what they were being billed, and float up to a higher tier if they used more than they were contracted for 2 months in a row. This worked okay for the first few months, when only 100 or so clients used the product, and I received a summary report of usage. But after those few months, the summary report stopped and adoption exponentially grew. By April 2020, I was receiving a 1 million row spreadsheet, plus 2 other supplementary sheets that had 0 key identifiers, but no other instruction on how to complete my job. I repeatedly told my supervisor that this wasn't feasible in the long run, and I couldn't figure out how to calculate float-ups, but she was distracted with other things. 2020. And told me to figure it out. What I figured out is my need for an assistant was imperative now, and I literally couldn't do my job as is, so I didn't. 0 float-ups from April to October 2020. Come October, sales, account management, and the C-suite finally figure out that Adobe revenue is lower than they expected based on usage. I repeated my complaint that I couldn't get everything done with the data they gave me. Adobe data was the least of the missing and incomplete data, to be frank. Without losing in particular Adobe float-ups, and everything hit the fan. The CFO demanded a full documentation of the billing process because finance can't be losing so much revenue. Read, why are you guys, and specifically me, messing up? I just smiled, nodded, and agreed to comply with an outside auditor documenting my billing process to find my holes. In the 4-month process that took about 2 weeks out of every month, I described my process down to the nitty-gritty detail up to and including the fact that A. I did not have a summarized user log. I got an 18,000-line user listing that I had to comb through for duplicates since 60% of our clients use 2 of our platforms and we didn't, and still don't. Have a single sign-on, SSO, and then pivot out and associate with each client manually via lookup against non-key identifier manually entered into the Salesforce. B. There was no database for which add-on services our clients were using, and our metadata platform was just a manual checkbox for each client and each service upkept by the client's account manager. C. AMP had no reporting functionality to audit client usage versus contracted usage versus billed usage. D. There is more, but I think you get the picture. When the outside consultant gave her report to my supervisor and the CFO, the call was quiet for a long bit. Then the CFO said thank you and disconnected. About 15 minutes later, I get a direct Teams video call from the CFO. He said, "I want to apologize. The fact that this company is still a going concern is a testament to all your hard work. What you have done with the terrible data you've been given is nothing short of amazing. Thank you." Slightly paraphrased, of course, but that was the general gist. The going concern part, though, direct quote. The next business day, an ad was placed for an assistant for me, and for the Salesforce Deal Desk Manager. I haven't had to answer my phone or dig in customer emails for over 3 years. I love my assistant, and I'm so glad to have her. She makes my work life 1,000,000 times better. 2. Things we obeyed as children we can laugh at now. Sometimes as children we found ourselves in a bathroom crisis. This is my story of malicious compliance. When I was 6 years old, I was with my parents when they parked in front of a store. They told me they were only going to be in there for a few minutes and they wanted me to wait in the car. They made it very clear that I was to wait for them to come out, and under no circumstances was I to leave the car and come into the store. So I waited in the car, as I was told to do. A few minutes later, I had to use the bathroom really bad. Really bad. I thought about going into the store, but I was worried about getting into trouble for leaving the car, so I contemplated what to do. Then I saw a brown paper Zeller's shopping bag on the floor. Hallelujah. I pulled out my drawers and deposited a huge Cleveland steamer right into the brown paper bag. Relief. But the satisfaction of relief quickly passed, as I realized that now I have another problem. What do I do with the bag of poop that is now in the car? I knew if my parents found out that I did that, I would be in trouble, so the solution my 6-year-old brain came up with was to slide the bag under the front seat to hide it. So that's what I did, slid the bag with the fragrant log in it under where my father would be sitting while he drove the car. A few minutes later, my parents returned with me sitting innocently like a little angel in the back seat. My parents got into the car and told me they were proud of me for being a good little boy and doing as I was told. Dad settles into his seat, starts up the car, then starts sniffing. He sniffs some more and looks at my mother and says, "Carolyn, do you smell that?" "Yes, Bobby, I do," she replied. "For the love of Christ, get him in the tub as soon as we get home," my father gasped. So we get home and I am promptly put in the tub. The next day, we get into the car to go somewhere. My father just gets settled into his seat, then looks at my brother and says, "Jesus Christ, Carolyn, I thought you said you washed him yesterday." "Yes, I did, Bobby." "Well, you didn't do a very good job then, because he smells like a ripe crap house and a damned heat wave," only with more cursing. "Shut up, Bobby, I'll wash him again when we get back home." So we went about our business, as the smell in the car was intense and unbearable. We had all 4 windows down, but the July heat kept things good and pungent. We finally get back home after being accompanied by a constant chorus of foul language coming from my father. Back into the tub I go. My mother cleaned me extra good and really scrubbed my bum. I leave the tub clean as a whistle, not a hint or a mere sniff of poop smell. Problem resolved. The next time we got in the car, we were going to pick my grandmother up and take her somewhere. My father settles into his seat, starts the car up. A few seconds later, he slams his fist down in the dash, looks at my mother and roars, "I still smell it, I still effing smell it." "Bobby, calm down, I told you I washed him, and I checked him before we got into the car, and he did not smell like that. I smell it too, suffering Jesus, but I can tell you it is not coming from him." "Then where is it coming from, Carolyn?" "I don't know, Bobby." We picked my grandmother up. The smell in the car is pure torture. I could tell my grandmother was really suffering as we marinated in the stench. But she did not want to be rude, so she suffered in silence with the rest of us. My father finally comes right onto the brakes, pulls the car over, breaks the uncomfortable silence and screams, "I can't take it anymore! There's poop somewhere in this damned car. I know it, and if I have to tear this damned car apart to find it, that's what I'll do." Again, with far more cursing. He was very upset. We all get out of the car, and he starts sniffing around. You notice the smell was stronger closer to the floor. When I slid the bag of poop under the seat, I didn't roll up the end of the bag, so one end of the bag was open. My father is sniffing around and feeling around everywhere. He slides his hand under the seat on the passenger side and feels around. Nothing. He slides his hand under the seat on the driver's side and feels around. Something. Something soft and squishy. As he was feeling around under the seat, He slid his hand right into the open side of the bag. Then an expression of pure panic comes across his face as he recoils his hand in horror. He leapt out of the car, stood on the side of the road with traffic going by, looks at his hand right in front of his face, poop all over his fingers, and he curses, resolutely and powerfully. After a very sound yelling at, I did indeed survive to live and tell this bathroom emergency story, and laugh about it years later. 3. I've worked my way up the ladder at the company where I work, but when I started, I was a support agent. By the time this story happened, I was a team lead of some kind, I don't remember which. What matters is that I still worked directly supporting customers, but I also had a fair amount of agency. I didn't have to ask permission or assistance to do anything related to my job. We're a software company, but we used to sell a specific small Bluetooth accessory that worked with one of our apps. It came in several bright colors and we sold multipacks. It was the kind of device you might need more than one of, and it was a popular gift. One year, during the Christmas season, our manufacturer messed up gloriously. They didn't deliver all of the inventory we were supposed to get, and worse, much of what we did get was messed up and had serious defects. It was a horrible mess, and a serious detriment to our small company. I was on the front lines of cleaning it up. We wound up severely backordered at the busiest time of the year, having sold units that should have been delivered, but that we either never received or found to be defective upon arrival. We had to contact people and let them know their orders would be delayed until after the holidays. Some people wanted refunds, some people wanted their items late. We tried to be helpful and bent over backwards to be apologetic, while trying to keep this debacle from becoming a catastrophe and incentivize people not to cancel. There was one man who wanted us to perform magic, however. He wanted his order, our largest multipack, and he wanted it now. I don't know how many times he contacted us, but I wound up being the only one to deal with him, because he'd always be escalated to me. I told him over and over again that we couldn't send his order even though we very much wanted to, so we'd be happy to refund him. If he wanted to wait, there were many others ahead of him to get their orders. He demanded that he get his order first. He didn't care who else had to wait. He would berate me and try to literally command me to do as he said almost daily for a while, no matter how many times I explained why I literally couldn't. Eventually, I opened the spreadsheet where we were keeping our back orders and moved him to the very bottom. Yeah, I was prolonging my own suffering, but he had me feeling petty. After the holidays ended and upper management waged a nuclear war with our manufacturer, usable stock started rolling in. I bumped a few deserving or eager customers to the top of the list, but mostly sent them out in order. He's the only one I bumped down, but I had something ready for the next time he decided to scream at me. When he inevitably did, I told him we had stock, but others were receiving theirs first, and we hadn't gotten in the colors he ordered in his multipack. I was sort of planning to do what I did anyway, but he was kind enough to give me explicit permission. "I don't care what colors you send to send them to me immediately." Our colors included Susan G, Coleman Pink. The customer was gloriously smug and condescending when I told him we'd go ahead and fulfill his order right away. He definitely thought he had won some kind of victory, but sure enough, the day his package arrived, he sent an email complaining. "I know I'd said I'd accept any color, but really? You sent me, a man, an order of nothing but pink? I want these replaced. Send me something else." I told him that's all we had available for him, and that the conversation was over, and so it was. I never heard from him again. It took a few years before I brought it up, but I've told that anecdote at workplace meetings a few times, including to my boss, the CEO. I wouldn't take another support job to save every orphaned puppy on Earth, but that story was worth the misery. Always be nice to support agents, for your own sake. 4. I'm cackling right now. My teenager and husband are constantly leaving the baby gates I have installed on the stairs and door to the mudroom open. The dog will then go into the mudroom and eat the cat litter, or she'll pee on the carpeted landing or go up to our room to get into our trash or the diaper pail. It drives me bananas. Making them clean it up doesn't seem to deter them from constantly forgetting to shut the gates. My teenager maintains that they don't leave the gate open, so I bought one of those window alarms. It has a separate magnet, and then the main unit, so when you separate them, it alarms that the window is open. You can put these things just about anywhere, such as doors, fridge or freezer, cabinets, etc. You can also set a delay, which is what I did, so it isn't alarming just from someone walking through. Currently upstairs with the toddler for a nap, and heard the teenager go down the stairs, and 30 seconds later the alarm starts going off. I sent them laughing face emojis, and they just said, "Die." I responded with a kissy face and offered to turn it up louder if they'd like me to. But I'm sitting here trying not to wake the baby up from laughing. I didn't tell my husband I bought these alarms so I can wait for him to come home and find out about them too. Some people suggested the timer should be shorter. I agree. I just don't have another option. There are 3 settings: 0 seconds delay and the alarm plays every 5 seconds, 30 seconds delay and the alarm plays every 20 seconds, or 0 seconds delay and the alarm plays continuously. Other alarms I was looking at had similar options. This is just the one that was cost-effective, came in a 2-pack, and could get here within a day. Update. Husband did indeed leave the gate open. He made it back over to the stove where he had loud fans on, so he didn't immediately hear the alarm. Everyone else heard it, and I said, "Who left the gate open?" My middle child immediately gave up my husband and said, "He did it." My husband said it wasn't me, and she fired back at him that he just came downstairs and it was definitely him. Then the alarm went off again, and he said, "What is that?" And then, "Really, babe?" before rolling his eyes and marching over to fix the gate. Everyone got a pretty good laugh about it, and I'll have to give it a trial run and see if it deters them from leaving them open in the future. 5. Yesterday morning, I received an email notification from my credit card company stating a transaction for $1,500 at a med spa was declined, and another stating it was approved. I immediately called said credit card company to report the fraudulent charge. Turns out my card has had fraudulent charges over the past 3 weeks with purchases, including various hotels in my area, eBay, gas station, self-storage, and moving truck rental. I rarely use this card. The last time I used it in person was in February, and last online purchase in 2023. Fortunately, my credit card company flagged all recent charges and closed my card. This morning, my significant other had a doctor's appointment in the same city as a hotel purchase made yesterday. After the doctor, boyfriend asked me what I thought we should do today. I said, "Well, you wanted to shop for some new shoes, or we can swing by this hotel up the street and see if the credit card thieves are still there." The amount seemed like it would cover 2 or 3 days. So boyfriend and I go to the hotel to see if the people were still checked in and to let them know the card was stolen and the charges would be reversed. Front desk lady was angry. She was able to find the reservation by card number and noted that the person had kept changing cards to pay for the room. Of course, they didn't tell me the room number, much to my boyfriend's dismay. He was hoping to get a room key to take their stuff. I called the credit card company and they asked me to call the police. I called the sheriff's department and they arrived within 20 minutes. I was surprised they even came. I gave them my report, ID, and credit card. The deputy asked if I wanted to prosecute. I said yes. But can I prosecute if my credit card company is going to refund all the money anyway? Hellfreezer's note. Yep. Then they went inside and spoke to the front desk, who provided them the invoice. Boyfriend and I waited outside in front of the lobby. Then, through the automatic sliding doors, I hear the front desk lady yell, "That's him! He's trying to leave!" Dude with a bull terrier in several bags gets placed in cuffs. He gets brought outside, searched, and doggo gets cuffed to a trash can. Then another little guy gets brought out in cuffs. A third deputy arrives and brings out a fancy lady with a face full of fillers, 2 suitcases, and a Coach backpack. 4 officers start going through the backpacks on the hood of their car. We see passports, IDs, credit cards. They pull out a big credit card printing machine and a laptop. Then they pull out a big Ziploc filled with crystal meth, and the cop exclaims, "Here we go," and turns towards us to flash a smile. 2 of them go back to search the hotel room and bring down 2 bags with more drugs, a scale, 4 car keys, and a big wad of cash. Unfortunately, none of the cars were in the parking lot, and the perps said they had been traveling by Uber. The cops contacted one of the thief's friends to pick up the dog, who arrived pretty quickly. It was an older dude with tattoos, flashy jewelry, and an odd luxury SUV. Don't worry, we got his pics and license plates. All these guys seemed like characters out of The Brother's Son. The deputies then gave me all the paperwork and told me that one of the guys said they stole my card off the internet. I would have guessed that they used a scanner while I was at the fair a few weeks ago. I find it so weird because I haven't used my card online in almost a year. Apparently, they made a physical card that had a different name on it. Anywho, I walked back inside to give the front desk a copy of the incident number, and then I remembered something else. I remembered seeing another transaction for a storage unit that was made yesterday and had 2 charges for a rental truck company. I go back outside and talk to the sheriff and asked him if he wanted me to try to figure out where that was. I was able to track down the storage location to a city about 15 minutes away, but no can do on the trucks. I called the storage place and they confirmed that a payment was made with my card, but would not give me the unit number. From there, the sheriff said that it was out of their jurisdiction, but they would try to get a search warrant, but that might take a while. However, it might be helpful if I made a police report with the other city. So with nothing better to do, I drove over there and made another police report regarding the storage unit. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 371. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you'd like to get early access to the videos, then you can support me on my Patreon page by clicking on the link below. Do that for as little as $1 or more a month. You'll also find links there to my merchandise store on Teespring, as well as my Discord server. And you also have the option of leaving a tip by clicking on the heart with the $sign underneath the video. None of that is ever required, but I do very much appreciate it. Alright, no other bits and bobs today, I don't think, so let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, I'm kind of borrowing this one from a clip of Jonathan Frakes I saw earlier. How much money would it take to get you to spend a night in a cemetery? Personally speaking, I'd do it happily for a few thousand because I'm not afraid of the dead, because they're dead. But I understand some people might have a bit of a phobia about that sort of thing, or they might just find it creepy. As long as I can bring snacks and sodas, it's not too cold, maybe on a nice warm summer's evening, just chilling with the ancestors, that might be fun. Let me know what you think in a comment below, and before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Michelle Stewart. I'm a coffee drinker for sure. I don't do instant. If I'm at work where I get most of my coffee, I have my own drip coffee machine. At home, I have 1 cup coffee pods type coffee. If I'm out having fancy coffee, a mocha latte is my go-to. Even going camping, I don't do instant coffee. Also, side note, putting ice in my coffee I think is strange. Maybe I'm too old and set in my ways. Thank you very much for your answer, Michelle Stewart. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.